The garden is a mess. It's the end of the season. There's lots of weeds and lots of dead plants that all need cleaned up. My sister's actually here today going to be helping me in the garden. She just came and cut my hair, so I got a fresh haircut and a garden helper for the day. I might actually be able to get a few things done. So let's see how much we can finish. The dahlia flowers have all died back for the year, and we've had our first hard frost now. So we're gonna cut them back and then dig up the tubers. I have these big black crates for putting our dahlias in. We're gonna be digging up all the dahlias today and putting each type in its own crate. That way when we go to divide them, none of them get mixed up.
I have dahlias planted all over the garden. We have some in the L-shaped beds around the perimeter of the garden, but I also have a bunch just in individual corners throughout the garden. So we'll be digging them up throughout our cleaning up process today. We're trying to just go one bed at a time and get everything done in that bed. That way we can just feel accomplished as we go. I have different colors and shapes and sizes of dahlias planted all throughout. I'm trying my best to keep them all organized and separate as we are digging them up so that they don't get mixed up. There's a lot to be cleaned up today in the garden. It's gonna be pretty satisfying to see all these beds get cleaned up. I always like seeing the before and after shots of things once everything's been ripped out. There's lots of grass in this bed, but there's also some perennial onions in here too, so we're trying our best not to rip those out. There's actually 1 or 2 garlic sprouting as well.
There's some Egyptian walking onions in this bed, and these are the seeds they make. So I'm gonna put these back in the soil and we'll have onions next spring.
Some of these are even starting to sprout already. There's some strawberries here in the front of this bed. That's the green foliage you see. Those are perennial, they'll come back in the spring. So we are gonna be replanting any ones that accidentally get ripped up. I'm really excited for this coming spring. We should have a really good strawberry crop because we let all the runners set and we have extra plants. Our strawberry production is probably going to triple in the spring because we have triple the amount of plants. And that is not a bad thing in my book. We have sweet corn planted in this bed. I had considered keeping all the stalks and using them as some sort of decoration, but I ultimately just decided to go ahead and pitch them. We have quite a bit to do today, so I just wanted to boogie on and get it all done. As we were pulling up the sweet corn, my sister actually noticed a potato. So of course, I went ahead and dug around a little bit more, and I found a few extra ones.
In total, we found 6 potatoes in the garden, so that's enough for dinner for us.
It was nice to find those potatoes. It's always fun when you can find something you weren't expecting. We harvested our potatoes earlier this year, so I'm not sure if these are just ones we missed or if they were continuing to grow and we just didn't notice it. I'm really thankful to have my sister's help today. It's been going a lot faster having her help me pull out all these weeds. My mother is also here watching the kids, so that makes the work go a lot faster too. I love the kids when they help, but sometimes it's just quicker to do it by yourself. There's dahlias planted in a couple of the corners of the beds, like I mentioned. I really enjoyed having the flowers dispersed throughout the garden this year, not just on the outer perimeter, which was my initial plan. I liked having the flowers everywhere I looked. More flowers, the better in my opinion. I think they're so pretty.
This tuber was cafe au lait. It only made 3 little spots here that I could divide up, and unfortunately one of them already broke. So that's kind of sad. In order to have a tuber be successful for transplanting and dividing up, you need to have a body, a neck, and then a little eye where it will sprout out of. So unfortunately this one, since it's broken right there at the neck, I'll probably have to pitch that one. But I could still divide this one into 2 separate plants, so it's not a complete loss. Oh, man, this thyme right here, I keep bumping it with my elbow. It smells so good. This thyme I planted 2 years ago now, and it keeps coming back. So hopefully it continues to do so, because it smells lovely and it's really yummy for cooking too.
The green beans that were growing up these arched cattle panels came off pretty easy once the vines had completely died back. We're making quite a big pile with all of our garden stuff we're pulling out. I'll show you the big pile at the end. I was rather surprised myself on just how large this pile was growing. It's pretty fun to see your progress as you're going. I have been already starting to dream about the garden for next year, of course, like any gardener does. This giant plant that I'm pulling out right now is our zinnia flowers. I had zinnias planted in more places than just right here, but this particular clump was really pretty. I had orange and pink and salmon colors. There was a lot of different beautiful varieties. I am really in love with the zinnia flower. It's so easy to grow and it just always does well in my garden. If you have a favorite variety of zinnia flower, let me know what it is in the comment. I'm already dreaming and thinking about what I want to order seed-wise for the spring. I'm always thankful when fall comes around because I'm normally ready for a break from the garden. But then, as soon as it gets here, I'm already starting to look forward to the spring season and what I can grow again. It is so nice having fresh produce and fresh flowers in the house constantly, and I'm definitely missing all of that. We do preserve and put up a lot of the vegetables that we grow. However, there's just nothing quite like vegetables straight from the garden. The taste of the flavor is just so much better when you're able to harvest it and then cook it just a few minutes later. The flavor is just a little bit different when you have to preserve it. But I'm not complaining. I still really am thankful for the stuff we're able to preserve too. But I'm looking forward to that fresh fruit and veggies straight out of the garden. The dahlias, when I'm pulling them up, I just kind of use my pitchfork and loosen the soil all around the clump of tubers before I yank it. You don't really want to grab the stem and pull straight up because then you might break some of the tubers. The tubers are the little long potato-looking things that are attached to the stem of the dahlia. I'll go over how I divide the dahlias here at the end of this video quickly for you guys. The sun is setting so much faster these days, so I feel like we're racing against the sun, but it is giving us a beautiful golden glow. Some clumps of dahlia tubers are definitely bigger than others. I've noticed that kind of the shape of them also changes depending on the variety. This is one of the larger clumps that I dug up today. It was huge. I have not seen one this big so far in the garden today. It's always fun when you dig up dahlias because you never know exactly what you're going to get. Some of the tubers we've been digging up today have been clumps of like 2 or 3. This one looks like closer to 25 or even more than that. I'll have to divide it up before I know for certain how many's in here. I'll go over how I divide them up at the end of the video to give you guys kind of a brief run through of how I do it. It's a great return on investment though, planting dahlias, because they multiply themselves and I can take each one of those single tubers that I divide up and I'll have new plants, and then each one of those plants has the potential to make 25 plus tubers in addition to that. So as you can see, it exponentially multiplies. And you have lots to give away and share with friends too. This one that I'm pulling out of the ground now has more of a round potato-like shape to each of the tubers versus the long, slender ones that we just saw. It's interesting because dahlias can take on all different shapes in their flowers and also in their tubers. They're all unique, and I think that's really fun. I'm sure there's all different types of methods of storing and dividing your dahlia tubers for the winter, but this is just the one I use. I've been rinsing them off with a garden hose just to get all the excess dirt off the clumps, which makes it a lot easier when it comes time to dividing because you're able to actually see what you're cutting and splitting up. Although it is a very cold day to be using water and my fingers are a little bit numb, I think I should have probably been wearing some gloves while we were hosing these off, but it's okay. The things you do for flowers. I let these dahlia tubers dry overnight before dividing, and here's how I divided them.
These black looking little polka dots are the eyes of your dahlia. So as long as you have a body, a neck, and then a little polka dot, each individual section will make a new plant. So I can come in here and divide this in half, and then instead of having one plant, I just made 2.
I let all the fresh cuts heal over here on our grow racks, and then I wrap them in saran wrap to store. I just wanted to share with you guys how I divided and stored up those dahlias because I think that's useful information if you're growing your own dahlias. It took us several hours to clean up the garden. We were able to get a lot done though. I was really thankful to have the extra help. It was definitely making the time go a lot quicker than if I was just doing it all by myself. This pile is testament to how much we did. It was growing throughout the day as we were pulling stuff out, but I wanted to share it with you guys here at the end because I thought it was pretty impressive. Having little visual victories like this is what makes me motivated to do jobs and get things done.
The pile's pretty big. It's definitely taller than I am. The garden's about halfway done, I'd say. We still have to do the long skinny beds on the other side, but most of the arch panels and the shorter beds are cleared out for the season. There's still quite a bit more to be done, but we made pretty good progress today. We'll tackle the rest of the garden another day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, y'all.